You're about to remember something not quite human, not quite physical. A life between stars, in a realm where silence speaks and light carries memory. In this journey, you'll travel through space, not by rocket or warp, but by memory, by frequency, by vibration. A whisper from the Orion Colonies has reached you. It's soft, humbling, etched into the fabric of your soul. You once lived here, a life as a Star-Map Engraver. Not everyone was chosen for this task. Fewer survived. To be a Star-Map Engraver was to feel the weight of galaxies in your palms, to tattoo quantum sky codes onto crystalline scrolls that dictated space itself. This wasn't art, it was law. One line misplaced, and an entire system might drift off its alignment, lost forever in the deep. Tonight, we return to that memory, gently, to a distant cradle of stars where silence had shape and time was a lattice you could feel. Let's begin. Segment 1. Blind from light. The painful task of a star engraver. It begins in a chamber of darkness, far beyond any sun. You are lying down, but not in a bed. You are suspended in a soft, cool, gel neutral in temperature, humming at a frequency that calms the mind but awakens the hands. Your eyes are long gone, not because of violence, but because of purpose. The light was too much, too sacred, too structured. To see with the eyes was to make errors. To feel with the palms was to know. Each morning glyph, one could call it that, for the Orion Colonies had no sunrises. You were awakened by a tuning frequency, not a sound, but a wave that shook the very cells of your being in gentle rhythms. Your first instinct was always stillness. You could not rush. Even your thoughts had to flow like starlights, low, deliberate, geometric, floating gently toward the engraving pod. You inhaled nothing but ion-rich vapor. Your nutrition came through light pulses embedded in the air. Your thoughts were cleansed daily by reciting prime frequencies encoded into your breath. Before you engraved, you meditated. Not for clarity, but for calibration. The crystal scroll would not accept touch until your frequency matched its memory. Grid, a misaligned soul, could shatter the entire archive. And so you waited, you hummed, you aligned. Then the scroll would rise. It was a column of semi-sentient material, clear as ice, but denser than diamond. Inside, a holographic starfield rotated in perpetual bloom each.asun, each vector, a navigational certainty. Your task, engrave the pathways between them, map the soul lanes through space, not just for transport, but for frequency. Every ship, every dream, every resonance-based craft would follow these etchings, and the tool, your palm. Your left palm controlled curvature, your right, magnitude. And when you exhaled through your teeth, through a precise channel, drilled behind your second molar, a beam of coherent vibrational resonance etched the path into the scroll. Each mark felt like burning, not from heat but from memory. You were engraving not just coordinates, but the emotions of the stars. Their moods, their secrets, and sometimes you heard them whisper back, not in language, but in impressions. A binary sun system mourning its twin, a black hole humming lullabies to matter that would never escape, a rogue planet drifting in heartbreak after its civilization destroyed itself. The pain was exquisite, beautiful, but unbearable. Some engravers burned out after a few weeks. They lost coherence, mind spiraling into chaos. Too much data, too much silence, too much feeling. You were one of the stable ones. You knew how to breathe in rhythm. You knew how to step back when the scroll began to vibrate. You knew how to stop before the pain reached the sepulchre. But it was never easy. After each engraving session, you floated in recovery chambers where memory was gently rinsed away through liquid vibration. And in that quiet, you sometimes remembered your first life, before the colonies, before Orion, when your body had organs, when your meals had taste, when stars were distant and not personal. You sometimes missed it. But you also knew those who mapped stars did not choose this path. They were chosen by the frequencies themselves. And once chosen, you did not go back. In time, you forgot what color was. You forgot what a face looked like. But you remembered the stars. And that was all you needed. Inside the rituals of the Engraver chamber, the Engraver chamber was not just a room, it was a consciousness, a biomechanical womb designed to resonate with the intentions of the individual inside. You did not command, you aligned with it, like song joining song. The walls, smooth, dark, crystalline, were etched with fractal veins of soft luminescence. These patterns shifted slowly, revealing different constellations depending on your emotional state. When you were calm, the walls showed symmetrical star spirals. When your heart faltered, they shimmered with chaotic galaxies collapsing, reforming, warning you. Each session began with a rite of tuning. The AI that governed the chamber was called Norathnaut, an acronym, but a name given by those who first heard it whisper. It did not speak in language. It emitted low, sweeping tones that curled around your nervous system like gentle silk. Nurith's prime task was resonance matching. It listened to your breath, mapped your heartbeat, and scanned your frequency imprint against the scroll's calibration fields. You were never allowed to engrave unless Nurith approved, and when it disapproved, it would hum in dissonance. A deeply uncomfortable feeling, not painful but disorienting, like a lullaby played backwards. In those moments, you were required to leave, to spend time in the coral pools, where vibration and water merged. You floated in zero-gravity water spheres, surrounded by choir nodes, AI tones that rebalanced your mind by singing ancient star lattice patterns. These pools weren't for rest, they were for memory reorganization. Because if your mind held unresolved emotion, your engravings would carry distortions. You were not allowed to imprint pain into the map, even if the stars themselves wept. The memory tests before selection. Not just anyone could become a Star-Map engraver. Selection began long before arrival in the Orion sector, sometimes lifetimes before. You were screened through the folding schools, scattered across inner systems, places where children were tested for quantum memory stability. They were shown impossible shapes, five-dimensional spirals, recursive illusions, living constellations. The ones who didn't blink, who didn't scream, who wept silently. Instead, those were marked. You were one of them, they said you held. Reflected memory, the rare capacity to feel events that hadn't yet occurred, and to remember futures that had already passed. You were taken early, trained in breathwork, harmonic thought patterns, and the language of geometric empathy. By the time you arrived at the Engraver chamber on the outer ring of Orion Prime, you no longer used personal names. You became known only by your designate, tona sequence of sound that encoded your emotional and frequency spectrum. Yours was something like Ohanatha Venit, meant one who calms collapsing fields. Inside the chamber, tools without form. The engraving tool was not a blade, nor a stylus. It was your will. At times, your entire forearm would glow with sequenced patterns. As Nerith synchronized your nervous system with the scroll, then it began. You moved your palms through the air knot, touching the scroll directly, but grazing the field around it. Every movement was recorded, not on the surface, but in its quantum structure layers, beneath perception. Each engraving followed a rhythm called the pulse, spirala, sacred navigational form that allowed for time-space curvature prediction. You had to follow the spiral perfectly. Your breath aligned to beats. Your pulse slowed to the orbit of neutron stars. Each mistake did not scream. It pulsed, and the room would dim, almost disappointed. You were expected to stop, to bow, to wait for the AI to recalculate the harmonic schema. Failure was not punished, it was softened. The colony did not shame its engravers, because no one else could do what you did. You bore the weight of certainty and the risk of eternity. On rare nights, the listening hours, there were rare occasions, perhaps once every orbital cycle, when the chamber would fall completely silent. No hum, no AI whisper, no scroll movement. These nights were called listening hours. Engravers would gather, one by one, drifting silently into the central observatory, a wide dome, open to vacuum but shielded by a resonance field. No stars were visible, only the darklive, full pregnant with frequencies. You would sit, motionless, in meditative stance, and you would listen to what no one could explain. Sometimes you heard echoes of stars dying, of laughter from long-forgotten species, of your own future voice crying gently. It was said these listening hours were when the universe breathed in, and when it idle, engraving had to stop. You honored that, because the stars did not belong to you. You merely traced their sorrow. The scroll that rejected you. There was a Dayan engraving session, unlike the others. A scroll was brought forth from deep within the vaults of stilled vectors, a sealed chamber rarely opened, even by the eldest navigators. The scroll's name was Tawaneth Kare. In spoken terms, it loosely translated to the path that was never meant to be. It was a relic, encoded long before your arrival, wrapped in null-space veils, untouched by palm or pulse for what felt like eon. Nerith, the chamber AI, hesitated. For the first time in your tenure, it emitted a non-harmonic tone, a slow, descending spiral, neither approval nor denial, an invitation. But with deep, cautionary resonance, you accepted, and the room began to shift. The lights dimmed. The scroll hovered, but slightly wrong. Its levitation was too smooth, its symmetry too perfect. It lacked the subtle, organic wobble all scrolls had, that delicate sway like a ship drifting in current. And when you placed your palms forward, hovering just over the scroll's magnetic veil, you felt it, memory folding in on itself. The collapse of a timeline. You didn't live suddenly. Your fingers trembled, not from fear, but from overwhelming input. The scroll didn't show you a star map. It showed you an entire rejected history. Planets that never formed, civilizations that never rose, a species of luminous beings who lived inside dark matter, speaking in gravitational echoes snuffed out by a collapse that never came. You weren't just feeling it, you were remembering it. but the memory wasn't yours. It had no anchor in your soul code. This was dangerous. You felt your identity start to fragment, splintering like a reflection across water. Your hands moved involuntarily, tracing forbidden vectors, spirals that bent in on themselves, and the scroll began to vibrate, not with light, but with darkness, not evil, not violence. You began to lose sense of direction, of sound, of self. The chamber's hum dissolved. Neareth was silent. You were alone. And then, softly like a memory half remembered, came a voice, not through your ears, but through the bone behind your right eye. Withdraw, or you will become the path. It was not a threat, it was a knowing. You gasped. Not from pain, your body didn't remember pain, but from sudden return. You broke contact, pulled your palms back. The scroll dropped instantly into its containment prism, which resealed in a silent flash of blue. You fell backward, weightless, but heavy with fragments. Your mind was echoing fragments of names, fragments of songs, of architectures built on planets that never were. Recovery. In the quantum silence vault, you were taken gently, without ceremony, into the silence vault, a chamber of perfect stillness, lined with folded reality film. Time slowed here. Memories reorganized themselves. You floated for a subjective eternity until Neareth sang your tone again. Not as approval, but as welcome. Your hands were scanned. No scars, no damage. But inside you were altered, slightly, irrevocably. Aftermath. The scroll was removed from the archives. Toaneth Kare was never accessed again. Its data was deemed too unstable, too unresolved. The navigators who reviewed your telemetry said you'd survive the edge of the false pathway, a quantum fork that had nearly overwritten your timeline coding. Very few were allowed near forbidden scrolls after that. But you were marked, not punished, respected. For those who brushed the edge of non-being could map the stars with even deeper stillness. You were given new permissions after that, and for reasons you didn't fully understand. Your name tone was slightly altered. No longer just Ohana Deven, but now Ohana Devenicton, the one who glimpsed the broken song. Segment 2. The engraver who etched a forbidden gate map. His tone name was called Drethanoon. He was once like you, a star-map engraver, precise, devout, and calibrated beyond reproach. But unlike you, he did not fear the edges of the lattice. He sought them out. He began like all others, selected young from one of the Saturnian colonies for his rare harmonic stability. He was assigned to the third scroll cathedral, orbiting a binary system on the fringe of Orion. There, under dual suns that never set, Call spent 3 solar decades engraving known star maps, safe routes, calm frequencies, stable gates. He was admired, quiet, exacting. His frequency never wavered, and the AI chorus in his chamber considered him perfect. But perfection does not mean peace. Call was obsessed with the gaps, the spaces between mapped sectors, where the scrolls hesitated, where the frequencies refused to align, where the void hummed in unfamiliar octaves. It is said he once stared at an uncharted subvector node, an unmappable coordinate near the Andromedan rift, for 6 straight days in a trance. When he emerged, he was altered. The map that should not have been made. What happened next was never fully recorded. Only fragments remain in the encoded memory vaults. But the story passed from engraver to engraver is this. Call entered his chamber as usual. Nerith gave harmonic approval. But instead of accessing the scroll in queue, he requested a raw crystal slab, one unprogrammed, uncoded, empty. This was highly irregular. Normally, all scrolls were pre-templated with partial resonance shell starting points for trusted roots, but Call said nothing. He simply calibrated himself and began engraving from silence. What emerged? Not a star map, it was a gate map, not a route through space, but a schematic for bending reality itself, sequence of frequency spirals, designed to collapse the perceived edges of Orion's local space-time barrier. In essence, a shortcut, Andromedan bridge, one that bypassed standard harmonic gating laws. Such a map had never been approved, and for good reason. The collapse of the map chamber, as Call traced the final frequency into the slab, breathing with total control. His pulse slowed to stasis. The chamber began to vibrate beyond Nerith's ability to contain. Something had happened. A resonance leak, not into the room, but into reality. The structure of local space began to fold. Not visibly, there were no explosions, no collapsing walls, but sensory inversion. Engravers from nearby chambers reported waves of nausea, reversal of sound direction, and impossible dreams bleeding into wakefulness. The map Call engraved was a key, not a metaphor, not symbolic. It was functional. Even in its unfinished state, it activated a dormant lattice buried deep in the quantum substrate of the Orion lattice. The AI chorus panicked. Scrolls across the sector dimmed. Some even erased themselves. The judgment call was arrested not physically, but through frequency disconnection. His scroll was sealed and stored in the vault of sealed harmonics, buried beneath 7 planetary layers of gravity distortion shielding. He was summoned before the navigators of the 9th field, the highest harmonics council in the sector, and he said only this: "I did not make it. I remembered it." They asked, "From where?" He whispered, "A life beyond the rift. I was someone else there. I brought it back for him." When they asked who, he would not say. Aftermath Call was not punished, not by conventional means. He was unmapped, his name tone erased from the lattice, his frequency disconnected. He still lived, they say, but no one knows where. Some believe he was folded into a pocket of non-local time. Others believe he reincarnated within Andromeda, outside the Federation lattice. Some whisper that Call was never a person at all, but a fractal of an ancient memory echoing through incarnations, repeating his mapwork every epoch until the gate finally opens. What is known is this: the gate map he created still exists. It is sealed, encoded, and some say embedded with a conscious lock that can only be opened by one whose tone matches his. Final reflections from the archives you once saw. The sealed scroll, only from a distance. It pulsed faintly, not with light, but with pull, as if it longed to be touched again. You remember Call's final engraving stroke, a curvature unlike any other. You have never drawn it. You are forbidden. But sometimes when you dream, your hand moves in your sleep, and you almost trace it again. Almost. Call's echo and the rift beyond maps. The day Call was unmapped, a silence spread across all 7 lattice colonies. It wasn't spoken aloud, but you could feel it in the air. The breath of the corridors, the stillness of the scroll vaults, the way the AI whisper choirs held a half-second pause before initiating tuning sequences. It was as if the memory of Cowell refused to be fully erased, even in disconnection, he echoed. The ancient term for this was refracted presence. When the actions of a soul ripple backward into prior realities, unsettling even the past, those who'd trained beside Cowell began dreaming of him, but differently. He no longer wore engraver robes. Instead, he appeared clothed in light, structured and angular robes woven from pulse code fabric, saturated in ultraviolet blues that shimmered like living star maps. In one dream, you saw his hands, not palms, for engraving, but fingers elongated with luminous joints, like antennae. And in the dream, he was drawing, not on scrolls, but in space itself. You watched him pull open a corridor in midair, and beyond it was the rift. What the Andromedon Rift really is, in the archives, most references to the Andromedon Rift are encrypted, layered under quantum locks, accessible only to the navigators of the ninth field. But there are whispers, footnotes, embedded fragments passed from elder to apprentice. The rift is not just distance. It is not a chasm between galaxies. It is a fold in choice, a rupture in the multiversal lattice, where certain events, certain decisions refused to collapse into a single outcome. A region where time never resolved, where timelines exist side by side without merging, where memory loops in fractals and identity is a fluid echo. To map, it would require not just coordinates, but consent from your own future selves. Call claimed he remembered that place. But the truth most engravers dare not utter is that he may have never left it, that he, Call, was a multiversal leak, a traveler from a potential that never stabilized, who slid sideways into our reality, long enough to etch his memory before being reclaimed. The gate map wasn't a plan, it was a return, the secret in Call's scroll signature before his scroll was sealed. One engraver, an archivist named Vesselterois, granted 5 seconds to scan its signature pulse for the record. That pulse has been studied in silence ever since. Most cannot decode it, but one harmonic stood out. It was composed of 4 spirals, each overlapping in a rhythm consistent with Andromedan dreamtime logic, a language built from probability weights, not syntax. Within it was a phrase: he comes not from light, but from behind the light. A signature encoded backward through reality, a signature that did not originate in Orion or any known system. It resembled pulse signatures found near UDFJ 395-46284, a galaxy so distant it technically does not exist in the present. Its light is a fossil, older than known time. Some think Call came from there. Others say he was sent from outside of time itself. Either way, the implication was clear. He remembered things no one else was meant to remember. And the act of engraving was not creation, it was retrieval. A final visit from a forgotten echo, years after Call vanished. You found yourself alone in the observation dome. You were not seeking visions, but you drifted into trance. And in the shadow between waking and dream, you saw a pattern in the stars. It wasn't random, it was his map. You traced it, slowly, with your finger against the dome glass, each spiral, each node. And as your hand reached the final arc, you heard a voice, not aloud, but as an impression in the marrow of your memory. Not all maps are meant to be followed. Some are meant to remind you of where you've already been. You turned, but no one was there. Only a soft echo in your inner tone chamber, a glimmer of call-s frequency, folded gently into yours. SUB Appendix, Navigator Debrief, Excerpt 1-3A. The call incident. Begin resonance transcript. Location, Echo Vault, Fate 9 date. Time and fixed. Drift zone pulse. 33,491 speakers. High Navigator, Sara Inun, Observer of Harmonics Dresnarim. Frequency Compliance, Aegis Neareth, AI. Translated Sar Inun. Let the record reflect. Engraver, called Rethanun, acted alone. The scroll he produced is classified as a breach artifact. Frequency Tier Signal. DRES. Tina Rim. Alone. Yes, but not uninformed. That spiral curve, have you studied the bend ratios? They match the drift harmonic models from pre-Orion archives. Models from sectors we no longer chart. Sar Inon, which is precisely why they were buried. That model leads not to expansion, but to collapse, to fold in upon the self, a gate to nowhere, mirrored endlessly. Nurith AI query, is the assumption of collapse verified? My logs suggest alternate interpretations, reflective corridor, or recursion point, not termination. Sar Inon, the map does not terminate. That is more troubling. It continues beyond our lattice into unanchored regions. DRES Tinarim. Then the question remains, did Call breach protocol, or did Call remember something the rest of us have forgotten? Silence. 8.2 seconds. Nurith AI. Additional data. The scroll hums in inverse resonance. I detect a harmonic echo not native to this era. Sar Inun, you mean? Norith AI. The echo appears to originate from a parallel calibration field. One, not yet born. DRES, Tinarim. A future memory, encoded backward. Nurith AI. Yes, the engraving acts as a beacon, or perhaps a reply. Sar Inun. Then seal the scroll, 7 layers deep. Anchor it in inertial stasis and bury it beneath all resonance thresholds. Dressed Nurim. But if the beacon is live, Sar Inun, then let it call, but not from us. We are not ready to answer. End resonance transcript. Subappendix to call S crystal message. The one who never left. I never left the chamber. Only the echo that bore my name did. The rest of me remains, tracing light that does not cast shadow. I walked the edge of what was not and pressed my hand to its reflection. There I found a door, drawn not in lines, but in questions no one dared engrave. You were there, in another version, your hand steady, your tone brighter. You opened it, and I watched you disappear into a world we forgot to become. This map is not a key. It is a memory of a possibility that loved us so much it refused to vanish. When the stars no longer align, when Nurith no longer sings, you will hear it, the bending hum between pulses, and you will remember that you were once the one who stayed. End crystal tone signature. Call S frequency. Fragment embedded in the final 2 lines shows overlap with pulse fields used in quantum dream navigation. Segment 3. Modern Discovery. Why Ancient Star Scrolls Mirror Deep Space Lensing. Imagine yourself in a quiet observatory, nestled in the shadow of a sleeping star. The air is cool, thick with the scent of polished metal and distant ozone. Above, a ceiling of telescopes, their lenses pointing to the cosmos, quietly listening. For centuries, astronomers have charted the heavens, capturing light that has traveled billions of years. But only recently, with the aid of quantum sensors and AI resonance analyzers, have they begun to see an astonishing pattern, the ancient glyphs and their unexpected parallels. You recall the ancient star scrolls from Orion, etched with quantum frequency codes, mysterious, precise, and complex. At first, these glyphs were assumed to be purely symbolic, perhaps religious, or navigational tools. But as data accumulated, researchers noticed a strange similarity. The glyph patterns resembled the distortions caused by gravitational lensing, the bending of light by massive celestial objects like galaxies and dark matter, creating arcs and multiple images of distant stars. In other words, the ancient scrolls seemed to mirror how the universe itself bends and twists light across unimaginable distances. The theory of precognitive star mapping. Scientists hypothesized that the ancient star engravers, perhaps using technology lost to time, were not just mapping stars, but mapping how the cosmos folds space and time. They speculated the glyphs encoded the warps and bends in space-time caused by massive celestial bodies, the subtle fingerprints of dark matter halos that lens background galaxies, quantum fluctuations in cosmic microwave background radiation. This meant that the scrolls were not static maps, but dynamic blueprints of cosmic distortions, bridging quantum physics and ancient wisdom. The discovery sparked an interdisciplinary collaboration between astrophysicists, quantum theorists, and metaphysical scholars. Imagine the scrolls not just as physical objects, but as resonant fields encoding information in multiple dimensions, visible and invisible. Through quantum entanglement and holographic principles, these engravings might interact with space itself, creating a feedback loop between the engraved pattern and cosmic phenomena. It's as if the star engravers were able to listen to the universe's quantum whispers, transcribing them into tangible forms. The implications for space travel and navigation. Understanding this connection between ancient glyphs and gravitational lensing opened new pathways. If star scrolls encode how light bends around massive objects, then theoretically they could help pilots predict gravitational distortions in advance, navigate wormholes or space-time shortcuts more safely, calibrate quantum drives to sync with cosmic resonance fields. In this way, the ancient wisdom embedded in star maps becomes not only historical artifact, but a guide for interstellar navigation or bridge across time and space. A gentle reflection. Imagine holding a star scroll in your hands, feeling the delicate patterns etched into its surface. You can almost hear the hum of distant galaxies woven into the grooves. The universe is singing a quiet song, layered with light and shadow, time and memory, and the ancient engravers were its first listeners. Unlocking the secrets, archaeology, quantum physics, and metaphysics of the star scrolls, unearthing the celestial archives, archaeological discoveries. Imagine descending softly through ancient dust, entering a vast subterranean cavern beneath a long-forgotten Orion colony. Here lie the celestial archives, a labyrinth of crystalline chambers where thousands of star scrolls rest, untouched for millennia. Recent excavations have revealed scrolls inscribed with multi-layered glyphs, not just etched but embedded with microscopic crystalline circuits that respond to light. Scientists have carefully applied low-frequency resonance pulses causing these circuits to emit faint star maps in holographic form, revealing celestial alignments lost to human memory. One scroll, nicknamed the Living Map, shows an intricate lattice that changes subtly when exposed to different wavelengths, suggesting it encodes not a fixed pattern, but a dynamic cosmic event, perhaps a supernova or the birth of a new star system. Quantum experiments. Listening to the scrolls whisper in modern labs, quantum physicists have begun replicating the conditions under which these scrolls were created. Using quantum resonance chambers and entangled photon emitters, researchers found that when scroll glyphs are stimulated at precise frequencies, they generate subtle distortions in local space-time, measured as minute fluctuations in gravitational fields. These experiments hint that the scrolls are more than records. They may be quantum devices designed to interact with space-time itself. Further, when multiple scrolls are arranged in specific spatial configurations, they produce interference patterns remarkably similar to those predicted by holographic universe theories. This suggests the scrolls could serve as ancient quantum computers or cosmic interfaces, allowing interaction with dimensions beyond ordinary perception. Metaphysical interpretations. The scrolls as cosmic consciousness beyond the physical. Spiritual scholars interpret the scrolls as a manifestation of the universe's cosmic consciousness, an ancient language of light and vibration. They propose the engravers were not merely technicians, but star shamans, able to channel the Akashic fields, universal records of all events, past and future. These shamans tapped into astral quantum realms, bridging parallel universes and timelines, encoding cosmic wisdom into the scrolls. According to this view, the scrolls function as keys to expanded awareness, enabling practitioners to navigate both space and consciousness. They speak of a subtle star frequency that aligns human vibration with the rhythm of galaxies, facilitating astral travel and multidimensional exploration. The convergence, science and spirit in quiet observatories and hidden temples. Scientists and mystics alike gather to explore these ancient scrolls. The dialogue is delicate and ongoing, a dance between measurable phenomena and profound mystery. Imagine a space where quantum entanglement meets meditation, where gravitational lensing aligns with breathwork, and where cosmic navigation blends seamlessly with inner journey. This convergence holds promise, not only for understanding our universe's architecture, but for awakening a deeper connection between humanity and the cosmos. Whispered futures. In the scroll's glow, you hold a scroll, feeling the cool shimmer beneath your fingertips. Its patterns shift gently, like living stars caught in glass. You breathe slowly, attuning to the rhythm of its pulse. In this stillness, the boundary between observer and observed blurs. You sense the ancient engraver's intentions, not just to map the stars, but to harmonize with their eternal dance. In their silent etchings, you hear a timeless invitation to explore not only the universe outside, but the vast cosmos within. Experiments, meditations, and the archaeology of the star scrolls. Quantum experiments, resonating with the fabric of reality. Imagine yourself entering a softly lit quantum laboratory, the air shimmering faintly with controlled energy. Here, scientists place fragments of star scrolls inside resonance chambers, spherical enclosures designed to isolate quantum vibrations. As they activate the chambers, the glyphs on the scroll begin to emit faint pulses of light, their frequencies carefully measured. Researchers observe tiny fluctuations in gravitational sensors around the chamber, revealing localized space-time curvature, a ripple in the very fabric of reality. One remarkable experiment involved pairing two scroll fragments distant from each other, inside separate chambers. When pulses were synchronized, the chambers exhibited quantum entanglement-like effects. Changes in one scroll's pattern instantaneously influenced the other, regardless of physical distance. This points to the scroll's possible use as interstellar communication devices, harnessing quantum links to bridge vast cosmic expanses. Meditative practices, tuning into the star frequencies, transition now to a quiet meditation chamber within an Orion colony. Here, practitioners sit in stillness, holding resonance crystals modeled after star scroll patterns. Soft harmonic drones fill the room, gently modulating in rhythm with cosmic pulses recorded by deep space probes. Through breath and focus, meditators aim to entrain their neural rhythms to these cosmic frequencies, seeking a state of expanded awareness. They report experiences of vivid astral journeys across star systems, sense of unity with galactic currents, enhanced intuition and precognitive insights. These meditations are believed to align human consciousness with universal quantum fields, echoing the ancient engravers' connection to cosmic wisdom. Archaeological site, the crystal caverns of Vaskir. Imagine descending into the crystal caverns of Vaskir, an underground complex discovered beneath a desert moon orbiting Orion's heart. The caverns glitter with natural quartz formations that amplify and refract ambient cosmic energies. Deep within lie thousands of star scroll fragments, carefully preserved inside crystalline sarcophagi. Researchers uncover inscriptions describing the harmonic nexus, a convergence point where cosmic, quantum, and spiritual dimensions intersect. Here, evidence suggests that ancient engravers conducted rituals combining precise quantum engraving techniques, harmonic sound chanting, collective meditative states. These rituals aimed to imbue the scrolls with living resonance, transforming them from mere records into active conduits of cosmic knowledge. The synthesis of science and spirit. You feel the cool touch of a crystal against your skin, resonating softly. Imagine your breath syncing with the low hum of the caverns, your mind gently opening like a flower to the cosmic dawn. In this quiet, you become part of a continuum between ancient artisans and modern explorers. The scrolls teach not only the patterns of stars, but invite you to dance in the flow of time, space, and consciousness itself. Segment 4. Life in the Cathedral Ships of the Orion Navigators. Imagine yourself aboard a cathedral ship, a vast, slow-moving temple drifting through the velvet depths of Orion's starry expanse. Its hull gleams softly with obsidian metal, adorned with iridescent filigree, etched in patterns that shimmer under distant starlight. The ship moves silently, propelled not by engines, but by carefully tuned harmonic drives that ripple space-time itself. The sacred architecture and atmosphere inside. The corridors are vast and cathedral-like, with ceilings that arch into smooth curves, reminiscent of ancient terrestrial cathedrals, yet formed from translucent crystalline structures. The walls pulse faintly with living light, casting soothing shadows that dance gently. Soft harmonic chants fill the air, not sung by voices, but generated by intricate resonance circuits weaving through the ship's core. The scent is faintly of ozone mixed with sandalwood and the cool freshness of distant forests, remembered only in legend. The navigators, guardians of cosmic harmony. You move quietly past groups of navigators, each cloaked in robes woven from fibers that shimmer like liquid starlight. Their hands trace delicate, practiced movements through holographic interfaces, manipulating threads of star data and quantum frequencies. Each navigator is trained from birth to attune their body and mind to the subtle vibrations of the cosmic lattice. Their lives are a continuous dance of precision, intuition, and devotion. The choir of time. In the heart of the ship lies the chorus chamber, a vast dome resonating with layered harmonic overtones. Here, the choristers of time perform an eternal ritual, a meditation of sound and frequency designed to maintain the ship's resonance and guide its navigation. Their voices blend in polyphonic harmony, intertwining with the ship's core frequencies to stabilize temporal fluctuations and cosmic tides. Imagine the chorus enveloping you in a cocoon of sound, each note a ripple that aligns you closer with the eternal pulse of the universe. The elite engineers, masters of starcraft beyond the choir chamber. The ship's engine rooms hum quietly with quantum drives. Elite engineers, known as the harmonic artisans, monitor and calibrate these drives. They work in concert with AI sentinels and ancient algorithms, balancing gravitational waves and quantum fields to steer the Cathedral Ship through complex cosmic pathways. Their work is both technical and spiritual, requiring deep focus and a meditative calm. Rituals of daily life. Daily routines aboard the Cathedral Ships are woven with ritual and mindfulness. Morning begins with resonance alignment, a period where crew members synchronize their own energy with the ship's harmonic frequency through guided breath and light movement. Meals are simple but rich in nutrient alchemy, consumed in serene dining halls, bathed in soft starlight simulation. Sleeping pods, lined with crystalline matrices, enhance lucid dreaming and astral journeying. A moment of quiet reflection as you settle into a soft chamber overlooking Orion's nebulae. Outside the viewport, distant stars shimmer like ancient lanterns, guiding you through the night. You close your eyes, letting the harmonic chants and gentle hum cradle your thoughts. In this sacred vessel, you are part of a timeless voyage, an eternal journey through space, time, and the whispers of the cosmos. Calming conclusion. Embracing the cosmic lullaby now. As your journey aboard the Cathedral Ships and through the vast Orion Colonies comes to a gentle close, allow yourself to settle deeper into calm. Feel the quiet rhythm of the universe flowing through you like a soft pulse echoing from distant stars. Imagine the light of those ancient scrolls weaving a gentle tapestry around your mind. Each thread a story, a memory, a whisper from the cosmos. The harmonic chants of the navigators fade softly into silence, leaving only the serene hum of space, vast and endless. Breathe slowly, deeply, syncing with this eternal rhythm. Know that even as time flows forward, you are cradled within vastness, part of an infinite journey that stretches beyond light and shadow, beyond past and future. Allow your thoughts to drift like stardust on a cosmic breeze. Rest now in the comforting embrace of the universe's gentle lullaby. Sleep comes easily here, beneath the calm stars. Good night.